What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb, and welcome to the Rehab Christian Center Tuesday night virtual experience. I'm so grateful to be here with you tonight, and I'm thankful that you have tuned in. This is the last life study of 2022. I can't believe we are at the end of the year. This is crazy. I can't speak for anybody else, but this year has flown by so incredibly fast, and I'm just, yeah, man. Like, I don't know what happened to the year. This year just really flew by. But we're honored to be here to make it to the last life study of 2022, and certainly hopeful and prayerful that everything is going well with you, your family, everything concerning you. I've got a powerful, quick lesson tonight that I want to share with you that was really placed on my heart to share to really wrap up this year. This, again, will be the last life study of 2022. We won't have life study next Tuesday, and then the next time I'll see you will be on January the 2nd. I think it is. January the 2nd is the plan. If I'm not mistaken, I think I got my days right. It's all running together. No, January the 3rd, I think, is Tuesday. My days are all running together at this point. But just a powerful message that I want to share with you tonight. Stop trying to fit in is what I'm going to teach. I need you to do me a favor. I want you to start liking the video and sharing the video now and start encouraging people to tune in, because this is going to be another great, powerful message. Because I've got just a couple of nuggets and jewels that I want to drop on you. Something I did not want to lose my train of thought. I've got such a number of powerful jewels that I want to drop on you tonight. I'm talking about this whole idea of stopping with this need to fit in. We are living, in fact, in dangerous times, in my opinion. Because so many mediums like social media, family pressure, peer pressure, low self-esteem, this lack of will to be vulnerable and to take risk and even gamble on yourself. There's so many different things that really amount to us living in a society where people just don't want to be who they are, don't want to be who they've been called to be, and would rather go the easier route, which is duplicating another than becoming the blueprint. We talked a lot about this on Sunday. What a powerful, profound message for those of you that are creators and people that are doing innovative things in your space or have a unique purpose or calling on your life. And you've got that calling, but you also know that with that unique purpose and calling, it are a lot of challenges. And so tonight is going to be another very powerful message that I can't wait to share with you, because it's really going to help to set the tone for this upcoming new year that we're all about to prayerfully go into. If the Lord willing wills us to get there, prayerfully go into in just about 2 weeks. And so just again, grateful to be here. Start liking the video, sharing the video now. Make sure you say good evening in the chat area. I ain't gonna waste no time. I'm getting ready to get right into it tonight. Don't forget, the scripture for the week is St. Matthew chapter number 1. All right, St. Matthew chapter 1 is our scripture for the week. I want you to be reading that. Make sure my screen's a little bright. There we go. I want you to be reading that, meditating on that particular chapter all week long. And don't forget to join us for Explanation Thursday, this Thursday, where we'll talk about St. Matthew chapter 1. And it's a powerful book. And I can't wait to really teach it. Can't guarantee I'm going to just give you 5 minutes Thursday. There's some things I really want to unpack in this particular chapter. And it's got less to do with, honestly, the birth of Jesus, and it's got more to do with his genealogy and where he came from. Man, Thursday is going to be a word. Make sure you tune in for Explanation Thursday, this Thursday. And it's normally posted somewhere around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on our church Instagram page. All right, so let's get into it. Psalms 139 is where we're teaching from. Psalms 139 is where we're teaching from. And I'm going to try to read through verses 1 through 14 in the NIV to give you some nuggets as we go through this. But we are talking from the subject, and I want you to put it in the comments right now. Stop trying to fit in. Would you put that in the comments if you are tuned in? Now I know we'll have more people hop on as we go. Yes, it is a very nice chapter. And I love it, man. St. Matthew chapter 1 is like that, but it's really just that genealogy section. If you just pay attention to what the writer is saying, it takes you there. Stop trying to fit in is what we're teaching tonight. Put it in the comments. We want you to record notes in the notes section in the chat area. Of course, as always, you're going to be the smartest person at the water cooler. If you're still working this week, I know I am. And if you're not working this week, you're going to be the smartest person at your house. But I want you to take notes this week or tonight, and let's prepare to teach this. I'm in Psalms 139, verse 1 through 4 in the NIV is what we're going to teach tonight. Stop trying to fit in. And this is going to be powerful. Now, let's look at this because David's the writer here, and he's writing an incredible chapter, a psalm of praise and remembrance. But it really sets the scene for what I want to deal with about this whole idea or notion of fitting in, because the reality is so many of us fail to realize from the jump that when God created us, he did not create us to be like anybody else but us. Would you record that in the notes? I'm giving you nuggets already. When God created you, he never created you to be like anybody else, right? When God created you, he literally never created you to be like anybody else. And this is the crazy part about all of this. When we think about that and understand the importance of that statement that God never created us to be like anybody else, then we understand the great weight that is placed on us. And I wouldn't call it a weight. Let me take that back. I wouldn't say it is a great weight that's placed on us. I think we place the weight on ourselves. I think society places it on us, and we allow society to do that. So let me rephrase it. I think when we understand that, that God created us not to be like anybody else, then we understand that society has created such a great weight and placed and created such a great weight and charge on so many people to be like so many other people. And that's not what God designed you to be. Think about it. Of the billions of people in the world, he's so smart that none of us are created the same. Not a single one. Even if you've got a twin, if you're a triplet, if you're a quadruplet, if that's right, whatever you are, even if you and your mom or you and your dad are identical in looks, you're still not the same, right? Yes, you share some DNA, but you're not the same. And one of the beautiful things about God is that he is enough God to create so many people in this world, and yet none of us be duplicates. So we got to understand this. When he created us, he did not create us to be like anybody else. He simply created us to be who we are. When you come to an understanding that God created you to be who you are, then you understand that he then has a unique set of plans for your life. And so many people, if we can just be frank here, so many people are not willing. So many people are trying to fit in because they're not willing to pay the price to stand out. Would you record this? I'm dropping nuggets before the crowd get here. I don't wait on the crowd. I want you to record that. So many people are trying to fit in because they don't want to pay the price to stand out. All right? It is not easy to stand out. It is not easy to stand on the legs of who you've been called to be. I said it Sunday. I will continue to say this and scream it from the rooftops. I've been screaming this for years, ever since I've really come into an understanding that God really has created me to be unique in so many different ways, not just as a person, but through my ministry, my purpose, business, and career. He's called me to just be unique in so many ways. And the minute I accepted that was really the minute I believe God opened the Pandora's box for me understanding not only my purpose, but the things I could accomplish through that purpose. But I'm telling you, so many people keep trying to fit in because they don't want to pay the price to stand out. And when you want to stand out and you refuse to fit in, but you make up in your mind, even if being myself causes me to stand out, to stick out, to be not accepted, to be not understood, to be not embraced, to be not received, I'm going to take the risk in being myself, even if that causes me to stand out. And I'm going to be all right in that versus trying to fit in for the sake of comfort and not having to pay a major price. And that, my friends, is the difference between people who are just following the crowds in the line versus people who are drawing lines on their own. And I need to challenge everybody tonight that's tuning in or that is watching the replay to understand that your greatest call and purpose is not to duplicate everybody else, but your greatest call and purpose is to figure out what God's called you to do, what God's called you to be, and go carve that lane and stop waiting on people to give you permission. Stop waiting on people's approval. Stop waiting on people. This is a big one. Stop waiting on people's validation. Stop waiting on people to confirm you, and understand that when God made you, he never made you to fit in. You were always designed with a unique, special purpose and calling that would cause you to be able to stand out. And that's what you've got to work to do. Okay. And so when we understand that, and we understand that there is a price to pay when it comes to, especially in today's time, there is a price to pay when it comes down to having a will to stand out and to stand on your own 2 feet and to be who you've been called to be and to do what you've been assigned to do, then you don't allow yourself to get swayed because of different perspectives or because people don't understand you or get you, right? I think one of the greatest things I had to get over as I started to come into my own understanding of who I was and what I've been called to be, what I've been called to do, how unique my life and ministry and purpose has been called to be. One of the greatest things I had to get over was the opinion of other people. And somebody needs to hear this. There are way more people that need to hear this tonight. It is my prayer they go back and watch this replay. The day you get over the opinions of people will be the day you will start on the journey to becoming who it is that you have been called to be. And so many people, man, they may not ever admit this out loud, but so many people are stuck on the sidelines of life because they are more concerned about people's opinion than they are about the purpose God's been called them to have, about the path God's called them to carve out, about the direction God's called them to go into, about the destination that God has on his mind as it relates to your life. So many people get worked up about opinions. And when you get worked up about the opinion of people, especially as it relates to your life and your purpose and the purpose and the plan that God's put on your life, I'm telling you, you're going to get nowhere fast. Let me see. Let me make sure. I'm going to get to that in a second. Let me get to the text. Let me get to that in the text because I don't want to forget something. I was just watching something before I came on tonight. I got to finish watching it. And actually saw it by accident in my YouTube algorithms. And I'm going to go back and watch it. But it connects to something I'm going to teach here, right? So I'm in Psalms 139. Let's start at verse 1. Again, you got to stop trying to fit in and understand there's a price to pay when you want to stand out. Look at this. Verse 1, you have searched me, Lord, and you know me. Verse 2, you know when I sit and when I rise, you perceive my thoughts from afar. Look at verse 3, you discern my going out and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Look at verse 4. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know it completely. So what David is saying as he's writing this, he's saying to God that even before I go out and before I come in, you know my ways. When I'm sitting up, when I'm laying down, you know my ways. You're familiar with my thoughts, right? Even before I say a single word, you know what I'm thinking, right? So what he's doing is he's acknowledging that who he is well known by the God that created him. Okay, this is important. We're going to come back to this. Look at verse number 5. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Verse 6. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Verse 7. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? Look at verse 8. If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, the King James Version says, if I make my bed in hell, you are there. Look at verse number 9. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. Look at verse number 11. Here's where it gets good. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, and the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. So what the writer is saying is, even as an individual, David is saying, even as an individual, when I go through all of these things, and even of my darkest moments, what appears to be darkness to me is bright light to you because you're God, right? And not only because you're God, but because you created it all. Me, the lightness, the darkness, hell, you created it all, right? Look at verse 13. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Here's where I want, right? And I'm going to stop here at verse number 14. Psalms 139, verse 14. Look at this. King James Version. I praise you. Here we go. Because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. I want you to highlight fearfully and wonderfully made, because it goes back to my introduction tonight. David said, at the end of the day, you make everything that we see around us. You make the darkness, you make the light. When we go in, you understand us. When we come out, you understand us. When we speak, you understand us. Before we mumble a word, you know what we're going to say. You understand us. And at the end of the day, we give you praise because you made us in a fearful and wonderful way. This is how we understand the unique way in which God created us. When you understand that God created you and he made you as unique and individual out of the billions of people in the world, he didn't make nobody else like you. He didn't duplicate you and clone you into anybody else. And I laugh at my son. You know, my son and I have a lot of very similar features. He's growing up. He's got very similar styles, right? We're really close on some things, but he's still a different person. I'm still a different person, right? It just speaks to the beauty and the power of God. But when we think about that and we understand how uniquely created we are, then we understand it is in our best interest to never live this life trying to be something we are not. I want you to record that now. Never live your life trying to be something you are not. Oh, this is a rich word tonight. Come on, record it. Put it in the comments. Never live your life trying to be something or somebody. We can insert that if we need to. Never live your life trying to be something or somebody you are not. The best thing you can do is figure out the path that you have, figure out the calling you've been given, and walk into that. Because when you do, ultimately, it might take you longer to win. It might take you longer to be recognized. It might take you longer for your genius to be accepted by the masses. It might take your purpose longer to be accepted by the crowd. You may never go viral. But when you are true to who you are, you can rest at night knowing you're living your life in authenticity. And folks, if there is ever something that is missing in this world, whether it be in church systems, in business and corporate systems, in family structures, if there is something that is missing tremendously in this world, it is the value of authenticity. So many people are trying to duplicate and be things that they're not, so bad that sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between what's real and what's fake. I don't know about y'all. I was thinking about this when I was doing some journaling. I think it was yesterday. I was doing some journaling yesterday and just really was hurting my head because I was just thinking about the fact that sometimes we live in a world now where, you know, people are so busy trying to put up facades and images of things that they're not, that in today's time, and social media doesn't make this better, in today's time, you don't really know in a lot of cases what's real and what ain't. You know, you don't really know what's real, what's not, who's real, who's not, what's authentic, what's not. And you see this even permeating in the church really bad, right? You have ministries that would rather give up the identity of what they've been called to be what the general masses accept. And in the process, they end up losing their real purpose. And I've said this ad nauseum. I've said this many times. I could grow this ministry, this church, so much faster than what it grows, even in this virtual space. If I just did certain things, right, and became more traditional and streamlined and mainstream, like a lot of other ministries. And I'm not suggesting that all of those things are bad, not by any means. I have so many friends that are in ministries and pastors that are doing great things that I absolutely respect. And I think they respect my work as well. I just have a conviction that won't allow me to go so far to the left that it causes me to abandon who I have authentically been called to be. And there's such a thing as going so far to the left or to the right that you end up abandoning who you've been called to be. And see, the thing about sticking to who you've been called to be, yes, it takes longer to be successful. Yes, it takes longer to be popular. It takes longer. I still get a kick. I love it that people don't know me and know who I am. And a lot of people don't know I'm a pastor. I get a great kick out of that. And I love it because I'm true to who I am. And I would rather that be the case than to be known by the masses. That ain't on my bucket list. A lot of pastors on their bucket list. They want to be on TBN. They want to be on BET. They want to be on Benny Hinn. That stuff is not on my bucket list, to be honest with you. This is going to sound crazy. I'd rather be on a platform that's going to allow me to reach the people I've been called to reach. And that ain't going to always be TBN and all of these other stations. When we abandon what we have authentically been called to be, we cease from becoming who we are in the name of trying to grab an influence that we can really obtain if we just stick to who we've been called to be. God made us so wonderfully that, believe it or not, if you stick to your lane and your purpose and what you've been called to be, and you do it well, there is a whole market, network, sphere of influence that's waiting on you, not to be somebody else, but this sphere of influence is waiting on you to make the decision to be yourself. And see, people get comfortable in this space. They get comfortable trying to be who they were fearfully and wonderfully made. As David mentioned, they get uncomfortable doing that because, again, the process is a slow grind. I was watching before I came on tonight. I was eating dinner. I rarely have time to eat dinner before broadcast. It's normally afterwards. But I was able to do it tonight. Kids not here. And so it's giving me a chance to get some work done this week and do some things. And I was eating dinner and I was watching the Breakfast Club, and I was watching an interview that I wanted to watch for some time because I heard about the interview, but I never watched it before. And it was the interview of Dame Dash, who was a music mogul. Dame Dash is a music mogul and has been around for a long time. And he did this interview on the Breakfast Club about 7 or 8 years ago. I think it was back in 2015. And it's about an hour and 14 minutes long. I'm only at like the 25 minute mark. I just started it. But man, I was in there choking, laughing at some points because Dame Dash is a little dramatic when he talks. But I was also getting choked up at how prophetic he was, because he was saying things 7 years ago that people are just catching on to, right? If you go back to 7 years, let me just give you this quick example. If you go back 7 years ago in radio, you didn't have podcasts like that. You had a couple of people doing podcasts. Obviously, Breakfast Club was doing their radio show, but people weren't really into podcasting. YouTube was out, but it wasn't heavy, right? Not from a podcasting perspective, right? It wasn't into that. So Damon Dash was giving, not Charlamagne the God, but the DJ Envy was giving DJ Envy a hard time because he was like, do you own the radio station? And DJ Envy was like, I don't want to own a radio station. Dame Dash was like, that ain't what I asked you. He said, I asked you, did you own the radio station? Because if your son needs a job, can you get him a job? If your son needs to borrow some money against this radio station and hits a hard time, can you do it? And DJ Envy's answer obviously was no, because he couldn't. Dame Dash's point was, this was back in 2015. Hear the context of the story. Back in 2015, the context of his point was, go start your own podcast. Instead of working for somebody else, why don't you go out here and call this DJ Envy Radio and start your own podcast and have your own business? That way you are your own boss. You don't have a boss. And then you can set up generations behind you for wealth. This was 7 years ago. Now, people gave Dame Dash a fit for that interview because he was going in. He was being dramatic. It was asking him about Jay-Z, the history between him and Jay-Z or whatever, the fallout between them. But they was asking about that. He was going in about that. Don't ask me about that. People were giving Dame Dash a fit. But as I'm watching the video and I'm eating my chili, I'm scrolling through the comments, and the comments, there are comments in here. Somebody left a comment last week. 7 years later, there are people leaving comments that say, one guy had a comment in there that says, this video is the reason why I quit my job and as an ex-con started my own pest control business. And I've never worked for anybody a day in my life. He left that comment about a year ago. There were people saying, this video is the video I come back. Now, this is 2021, 2022, people leaving these comments. There were people leaving the comments and saying, I come back and watch this video once every couple of months because Dame Dash was spitting knowledge that was way beyond his time. And while people were criticizing and laughing at him 7 years ago, look now. Y'all, this is the price you pay when you don't try to fit in. When you don't try to fit in, you really begin to operate in this trailblazer space where you say and do things connected to your purpose that might come across as being so off the grid that people will criticize you before they try to understand you. Let me help you. One clue, I want you to record this. One way you know you are walking in your purpose is when people try to criticize you before they try to understand you. Y'all, I'm just speaking from personal experience. You're going to know you are attempting to live, walk, breathe, talk, move in your purpose when people's initial reaction to you is not trying to understand you, but it's trying to criticize you. Because let me tell you what I've learned about life. Let me tell you what I've learned about having a unique purpose. We've got a unique calling and a unique purpose in your life. It is more convenient for people to criticize something they don't understand than to try to attempt to understand something they don't have to criticize. I'm going to say that again. When you've got a unique calling and purpose on your life, it is more convenient for people to try to criticize something they don't understand than it is for them to try to understand something that they choose to criticize. And so you cannot let people and their inability to understand you cause you to back down from being who you've been called to be. I'm laughing. I'm going, as soon as this broadcast is over, I'm going to do a couple of things. I got to get back to work, got some calls and things, but I'm going to get that interview right back on. And I'm watching the rest of that interview because a lot of the things he said 7 years ago are things that we see as commonplace now. But when the man said it 7 years ago, people were criticizing him. When the man said it 7 years ago, people were dogging him out, saying he had anger issues and temper issues, and he was hurt over Jay-Z and trying to minimize his knowledge and his wisdom. Now look, everybody trying to podcast. Everybody's monetizing on YouTube and social media. And he said it 7 years ago. Stop working for them and go do it for yourself. And so that's what people tend to do. We tend to criticize the things we don't understand. And I want to say to all of you that have a unique purpose, and by the way, if you're tuned in tonight, you got a unique purpose. It ain't no trick question or comment. If you're watching me right now, if you're watching this replay, you have a unique purpose. But understand this, when you have a unique purpose, the price to not trying to fit in is being easily misunderstood. And most people want to be unique up to the point where they begin to be misunderstood. And all of a sudden, when people who are attempting to be unique begin to be misunderstood, the pressure of being misunderstood begins to outweigh the joys of being unique, and they fold and say, I would rather be understood and fit in than to be misunderstood and stand out. And I'm telling y'all, as you close this year and get ready for the next year, I would highly recommend to you to understand this, that I really believe we are moving into a time in our lives where the people who are going to be most successful in their lives, who are going to be most prosperous in their lives, who are going to see the most fruit in their lives as a result of their work are not going to be people who duplicate others, are not going to be people who would rather fit in and be comfortable. The people that are going to see the most fruit and enjoyment and excitement and satisfaction in their lives are going to be people who are willing to not give in to the pressure to fit in. And when you are not willing to give in to the pressure to fit in, you enter to this realm where you stand out and you become a target, you become misunderstood, you become criticized. I laugh. I was talking to someone, it was late last week. I was talking to someone late last week, was asking me some really good questions about my ministry and the things that I do. And one of the questions that came up was if I ever was worried about people not understanding me. And I told her there was a point in my life when I was younger where, like most young people, especially in your teenage years, you want to be understood, you want to fit in, you want to be accepted. I went through that phase when I was a teenager. But I'm going to tell you, it's like when I came out of college, the light clicked on. And I understood in my early 20s, I graduated from college at 20. I understood in my early 20s that the key to really being successful in your life is not giving a flip about people understanding you and being more concerned about you walking in the calling and the purpose that you have. Because sometimes, I can't say all the time, there can be effectiveness in fitting in. Like you can fit in organizations and be effective. Make no mistake about it, right? You can go in and get a big role in Microsoft or a big position in Microsoft and fit in that organization because you work for Microsoft and be effective and impact a lot of people. But there are levels to effectiveness. There are levels to impact, right? It's one thing to go work for Microsoft. Y'all catch this revelation, please. There's one thing to go work for Microsoft. It's another thing for you to create Microsoft. It's one thing for you to work for Apple. It's another thing for you to be Steve Jobs and create it. So there are levels to impact. There are levels to influence. And people who want those higher levels of impact and influence have to be willing to carve paths that have never been carved before. And I think that's what's wrong with this generation. Many people in this generation are stuck in jobs and careers because fitting in is more profitable and safe than stepping out and starting a business. Many people are stuck in dead-end relationships and marriages because staying in it is more profitable than having the courage to pursue what is best for you and your life. People choose bums as partners because it's a safe choice for their family versus choosing what's going to really help them grow, develop, mature, and live the most blissful life. Because when you step into that realm, that's called being in an uncomfortable space. And when you're in an uncomfortable space, you cease from trying to fit in and you focus more on being what you've been called to be, doing what you've been called to do, having what you've been called to have, walking in the purpose that you've been called to walk into. Okay? So, I had to challenge you and go back and read that. Read the entire book of Psalms 139. That's where we were tonight. For those of you, a handful of you that are tuning in late, Psalms 134 tonight in the NIV is where we read from. I'm going to challenge you to go back and read it, but especially pay attention to verse number 14, where David says that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, which means that God, in fact, had in his mind the uniqueness of who you are when he made you. So you do him a disservice when after he created you with so much care, you decide to go be something that he never created you to be. You decide to go be somebody he never molded you to be. You decide to go pursue a purpose that doesn't even belong to you. Right? We do our creator a disservice when we attempt to be something we have not been called to be. And I'm telling you, as you get ready to go into this new year, I need you to buckle down and ask yourself, What am I going to do in this upcoming year? The Lord allows all of us to make it. What am I going to do in this upcoming year that ensures I'm not walking in what my family wants me to be, my friends want me to be, my coworkers want me to be, but I'm walking in the true essence of who I've been called to be so that I can maximize the potential that God has placed on my life. This thing ain't about living an average life, y'all. This life, I want to say this again because you only get one dance at this. You only get one shot at this dance called life. This life is not about living an average life. Some of you are going to have to grow up, grow some courage, get off the sidelines, and be willing to pursue the life that you know you've been designed and purposed to have, and stop being so doggone scared of what people think or what they're going to say, because you only get one shot to live the unique calling and purpose that you have over your life. You've wasted enough time. You know, I used to be big on resolutions. You know, we've done vision boards here every January. I don't know if we're going to do that vision board exercise again this year. I may, have some people come on and talk about it. But one of the spaces that I've really grown over the last 2 years is this. I don't wait for a new year to make a change. You'll see a lot of slogans coming up in a couple of weeks. Let's see. Victory belongs to me in 2023. Right? You're going to see a lot of slogans. Victory belongs to me in 2023. Right? People have all of these great dreams and aspirations, but one of the areas I've grown in personally in my life, spiritually, emotionally, in my behavior, one of the areas I've really grown in the last 2 years is this. I don't wait till January to start making changes. I make changes as I am inspired to make changes, when those changes really come to me as changes that need to be made. And I do it right away. I don't care if it's January. I don't care if it's October. And you've got to get to that place, because when you understand the unique calling and purpose God has given to you, you understand that even your calling and purpose is greater than a season. And so as many of you are getting prepared for the next year, I need you to ask yourself, what am I doing in my life? How am I living my life to ensure that I am not trying to just live a life that makes other people comfortable, makes me fit in and blend in with the crowd? And in doing so, I have sacrificed my purpose. I have sacrificed real dreams, real goals, real ambitions, real desires. I've sacrificed all of those things. How can I shift from making that sacrifice to embracing who I've been called to be and walking in that purpose regardless of who supports it? Because again, I said at the beginning of the broadcast, I want you to go back and watch what I said. It's a whole lot harder when you got a unique purpose to be successful. Success ain't easy when you're a trailblazer. Success is not easy when you're doing what you've been called to be and you're not trying to fit in like everybody else. The road to success and notoriety is not easy. You're not going to go viral as fast when you're being true to who you are and being authentic. It's going to take some time. But let me tell you something about being authentic. When you really are authentic for real, your staying power is different. There's a whole lot of people that became popular real fast, fitting in, and they fizzled out like Milli Vanilli. And then there's a whole lot of us that has taken a little bit longer for our stuff to stick and for people to be able to grab our material and know who we are, know our purpose. But let me tell you something. When you make it, and somebody needs to hear this tonight, when you make it, you're going to make it. Because being authentic gives you staying power. Would you record that? That's the last note I'm giving you tonight. Being authentic gives you staying power. Duplicates don't last long. The original always does. Counterfeits don't last long. The original always does. Y'all better stop letting these folks trick you at these flea markets, buying these fake Louis bags. They don't last long. They look good for a couple of weeks. They're blueprints. They don't last long. They're not made out of the right material. Are y'all listening to me? And so there is staying power when you are authentic. There is staying power when you are true to who you are. There is staying power when you are authentic to what you've been called to be. And you're willing to make that risk, even if it means taking you longer to get to the top, taking you longer to be able to hire more employees for your business. You might have to run your business for many years by yourself. That's okay. Stick to the business plan you've been given. Stick to the purpose you've been given. Stick to the lane you've been given. Yeah, it takes longer to get to the top, but the price for trying to fit in, like I said in the beginning, the price you pay for trying to fit in, no. I messed that up. The price, you have to be willing to pay the price to stand out instead of paying no price at all trying to fit in. And so many people, again, are just giving up the price. They don't want to pay the price. They would rather fit in instead of sticking out and having to pay the price that it takes to stick out. But that's where authenticity is. That's where credibility is. That's where staying power is. That's where legitimate power is. Yeah, it's a harder grind. Yeah, it takes harder for people to get to know you and to know what you're about and to know what your purpose is. Yeah, that stuff takes long. But man, when you make it, somebody needs to hear this. When you make it, you're going to make it. And that's what I want you to be thinking about as we close this year out. As you get ready for a brand new year, ask yourself, in my life, in my career, in my business, in my family, in my relationships, in friendships, circles, connections, whatever, and anything that I'm involved in, am I really being true to who and what I've been called to be? And if your answer is no, I need you to think about doing something different. I need you to think about finding the authenticity that lies within you so that you can be everything you've been designed to be. Not what people want you to be, not what makes people comfortable with you, not any of that stuff, but be who you've been called to be. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's a price to pay. You're going to be talked about. People going to think you bumped your head somewhere, somebody slipped something in your drink. People going to think you're losing your mind. People going to think you out there. But if you don't believe me, go back and watch that Dame Dash interview on The Breakfast Club. And as much as that man was criticized for that interview in 2015, most of what he was saying in 2015 about how people should be entrepreneurs and podcasts and do all of these things are the very things people are doing right now, and they called him crazy. There's a price to pay in sticking to your guns, your authentic guns, and being who you've been called to be. And I want to challenge you, ma'am. I want to challenge you, sir, as you leave this year and get ready for the next year. The Lord allows us to see the next year in the next 11 days. I want you to understand this, that your greatest calling is not going to be who knows you. Your greatest calling is not going to be who likes you, who shares your stuff on social media. Your greatest calling is not going to be how popular you are. Your greatest calling is going to be your willingness to be true to who you are. Your greatest calling is going to be your will to be true to who you are. And what separates average people from exceptional people are the people who are willing to be true to who they are. You ain't got to like Dame Dash. But if you go back and watch that video on The Breakfast Club 7 years ago, he proved something then that he still sticks with now. He's true to who he is. And in being true to who he was 7 years ago, everything he said was prophetic. And we can see clearly right now, 7 years ago. He could have took the easier way out. He could have talked like other people talk and other producers talk and other moguls talk. No, he saw it differently. His vision was different. And there's a price to pay when you're different. There's a price to pay when your process is different. There's a price to pay when your vision is different. There's a price to pay when your purpose is different. There's a price to pay when your calling is different. There's a price to pay when whatever you've been called to be is different. But when you're true to who you are, eventually you're going to hit that tailwind. You're going to take off and you're going to end up being everything you've been designed to be and more. Yes, it takes longer to be successful. Yes, it takes longer for your stuff to stick. Yeah, it might take longer for your business to get off the ground. Yeah, it might take longer for people to receive you. Yeah, you're going to be criticized more than you're helped. Yeah, you're going to be talked about more than you let up. Yeah, people are going to think you've lost your mind because of the ideas and the dreams and the aspirations you have. But the good news is, again, when you make it, you're going to make it. But you got to be willing to pay the price. And there's a price to pay when you stick out. There's a price to pay when you decide not to fit in. There's a price to pay when you decide to be uncomfortable for a season so you can be blessed for a lifetime. And my friends, I ain't got to wait to January 1. I've made up in my mind, I'm going to just be who I am. I'm going to be who I've been called to be. I'm going to be true to what I've been called to be. And a lot of people going to like it. A lot of people ain't going to understand it. But everybody's going to have to respect it. And when you walk in that space, you're going to eventually hit your stride. And you're going to end up being everything you've been designed to be. Listen, y'all, I'm done. Just bless anybody tonight. Wasn't a lot of people on tonight, but I'm telling you, it was another doozy. You creatives, you folks that have been designed and purposed with unique callings and visions for your life, you need to go back and watch this replay and rewatch it over and over again as you prepare to close out this year and get ready for a new year. Why? Because I don't want you to be nothing next year but who you've been called to be. I don't want you to focus on nothing else next year but what you've been called to be, what you've been called to do, who you've been called to be, where you've been called to be, what you've been called to do. That's all I want you focusing on. And when you get comfortable in that space where you're standing out and you're comfortable, and you get comfortable standing out and you don't worry about fitting in because you're comfortable even when you stick out, that's when you're going to start to see miraculous things happen for your life. That's when you're going to start to see an incredible favor happen in your life. Now, it's lonely out there. It's lonely because, again, it's more comfortable to fit in. It's more comfortable to do what everybody else do. It's more comfortable to do it the way everybody else does. It's more comfortable to run your business the way other people are running their business, right? It's more comfortable to do that stuff. It's uncomfortable to stand out there and do something different that people ain't never seen before in a time they ain't never seen it. Because, again, I said it earlier, people are more quick to criticize what they don't understand. That's the price of sticking out and not trying to fit in. You got to be able to take the criticism. You got to be able to take people not understanding you. You got to be able to take people being confused about who you are and your purpose and what you're doing. You got to take the chatter. You got to be able to know the noise is back there, but not even be bothered by it. Because when you get to that space, and that's when you're going to see yourself really walking in the purpose and the plan and the direction God's called you to be. Let me stop because I'm getting carried away and it's time for me to shut down. I want to pray for all of you. If you got a prayer request, I want you to type it in the comments quickly. You can also email your prayer request to info@rehabcc.org. This is the last life study of 2022. So make sure you type in your prayer request or email your prayer request to info@rehabcc.org so that every morning this week we can get up and pray over your prayer requests. And we want you to know that we are praying for you. Go ahead and type it in the comments quickly as we get ready to pray. Or you can email it to our inbox, put in the subject line prayer request, and that email address will, or that email rather, will be routed to me, and we'll make sure that we read over your request and acknowledge it and respond to it. All right. But I want to pray for you. Last life study of 2022, and it is certainly my hope and prayer that this message was a blessing to somebody the way it was to me. Because I promise you this word was for me. It was just a reminder, man. Look, say if you're doing the right thing, you have to fit in with nobody. You know, you take the path and the lane that you've been given to carve out and go do that. It's hard treading, but when you make it, and somebody else needs to hear this, when you make it, you're going to make it. Nobody going to be able to take credit for your success. Nobody ain't going to be able to stick out their chest and take credit for everything that you've accomplished, because we're going to have to go back and look over your track record and look at the times you pressed forward when nobody supported you, the times you pressed forward when people walked out on you, the times you pressed forward when people didn't understand you, the times you pressed forward when the things you came up with and the things that you did that aligned with your purpose didn't make sense to people. See, everybody can jump on the bandwagon when you make it. But I'm here to tell you, when you're walking in your purpose and it ain't popular, it's hard for people to be on your bandwagon in the beginning. I want you to make sure you never live your life to be something or someone that you are not. You weren't designed to fit in. You were fearfully and wonderfully made so you can stand out. Let's pray, y'all. Connect your hands like this as a sign of symbol of faith. Touch and agree with me really quickly. Let's do it. Father, in Jesus' name, I thank you tonight, for an awesome word. Thank you for sharing with us in a tremendous way for the handful of people that are tuned in tonight, and even those that are watching the replay. It is my prayer, God, that this word has encouraged somebody and challenged someone to take a second look at their lives and to make sure that they are not living in a way to fit in, but they are moving in a way that they're aligning their lives with the purpose you plan for their lives so that they can purposefully stand out. Help us, God, to be what you've designed us to be, not what people want us to be. Help us, God, to walk in the path you've made for us, not the path that people have created for us. Help us, God, to live in the purpose you've given us, not the purpose people want for us. because we recognize tonight that you did fearfully and wonderfully make us. And we have an obligation tonight not to fit into what people want us to be, but to live our lives in a way that aligns with what we have been designed to be. Tonight, God, somebody either watching the replay live or watching the broadcast live or watching the replay needs the courage and the strength. They even need the permission to be themselves. Tonight, God, it is my prayer that you would give somebody tonight the strength to understand that they have the permission to be who they've been called to be, that they have the permission to walk in the purpose they've been called to walk in, that they have the permission to be the person that you've called them to be. God, give us all that recognition tonight, that you've given us the permission to be the fearfully, wonderfully made person that you've called us to be, and help us to walk in that purpose like we never had before, so that regardless of the year we're entering into or the year that we're presently in, that we are always aware and mindful that it's more important that we stand out and be authentic to who you've called us to be than it is that we fit in and not be true to who you called us to be. Help us, God, to be true to our calling, true to our purpose, true for the plans that we have for our lives, because we know that if we're true to you, you're going to in turn be true to us. We thank you for these things, God, and we count these things done in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen, if you prayed that prayer of faith, I want you to type in the comments quickly. It is so. Man, this was an awesome word. I tell you, I love life study. Tuesdays are cool with me. I love life study, though. Life study is just such a powerful time of gathering because, the word is just really practical. But I hope this message bless you. If it did, put it in the comments quickly. It is so. It is so. It is so. Really quickly. I thank you all so much for joining in. Those of you, the handful of you that have joined in tonight, thank you so much for joining in and for being with us and for sharing with us. I really believe that this message was a blessing to somebody. I want to challenge you to give quickly. This message, if this ministry has been a blessing to you, I want to challenge you to give. You can give one of three ways. You can give via Cash App, $REHABCC give. You can give through our website, www.REHABCC.org, and simply choose online giving. Or you can text Rehab Works to 336-642-3210. Again, you can give one of three ways. Our website, www.REHABCC.org. You can give via Cash App, $, I got a brain freeze, $REHABCC give. That's Cash App, $REHABCC give. Or you can text Rehab Works to 336-642-3210. And we promise you, if you give either one of those three ways, God will bless you. Good measure, pressed down, shaking together, and running over. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. I want to say to you, early Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all of that stuff. We will be here right here on Sunday at 9:08 a.m. For broadcast. We'll be streaming on Facebook and YouTube this Sunday, 9:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And certainly it is hopeful. It is my prayer that hopefully you can join us this Sunday, 9:08 a.m. On Facebook and YouTube for our Sunday morning experience. We'll have a word for you on Christmas Day. And if you can't make it live because of your family, go back and watch the replay when you can. But we certainly hope that you will enjoy your Christmas holidays with your family and with your friends and your loved ones and everyone that you're relaxing and enjoying the holiday season with. And make sure you go back and watch this broadcast replay. I think you will really see a big blessing in this message tonight. Stop trying to fit in. It was powerful. And we can't wait to see you on Sunday. Don't forget about Explanation Thursday, this Thursday. Don't forget your scripture for the week, which is St. Matthew chapter 1. And we're going to see you on Sunday morning. I love all of you. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. Be careful this holiday season as you're going about shopping. Be mindful of your environment, your surroundings. Certainly praying for people in California through the earthquake today that happened earlier today. And certainly praying for every family that was involved in that. And just certainly praying for all of you that you will have a safe and sound holiday season. I love y'all. I'm praying for you. Ain't nothing you can do about it. And can't wait to see you this Thursday for Explanation Thursday. You can find the recording on Instagram exclusively. And then can't wait to see you join in on this Sunday at 9:08 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I love you guys. I'm praying for you, rooting for you. Have a fantastic week. Peace and blessings. I'll see you Sunday.
For watching the Rehab Christian Center live experience. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you and you would like to be a blessing to our leader, Dr. Zeb Talley III, you can sow a seed into his ministry by Cash App at $Pastor ZT3. It is our prayer that this message of hope encouraged, enlightened, and empowered you to be better. Please tune in Sunday at 9:08 a.m. for our Sunday morning experience. And as always, be blessed and have a wonderful week.